Hey everybody, this is Angie Weber. I am the owner of Hello Life, and we are a natural cosmetic line focused on bringing out confidence in women. But one of the other pieces of our organization is that we are very, very passionate about giving back. And our Give Back partner is the Foundation for Excellence in Mental Health Care. And now I found this organization and I love it. And I get asked questions all the time because people are very intrigued by our Give Back piece. And I know I can only answer so much. So today I'm super excited and honored that Gina has taken the time to sit down with us and share a little bit more about the organization. So thanks so much for being here, Gina.
Hi, Angie. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And she's sporting her Hello Life stuff, so I love that. So I just want to get into it right away because when me and my co-founder founded the organization, there was a time and point, and just kind of everything happens for a reason, where we had to go back to the drawing board and rename, and it was horrible. And so it was really this in between time, and we came up with the name Hello Life. And at first I was like, I don't know, is that really the right name? And then I was sharing about our family's experience with mental health issues and talking about how a huge subject it was in our lives, and how it was important to me. And then after I shared that with a few people, there were people coming up to me and they were like, oh my gosh, I have a brother with bipolar disorder, or my sister tried to commit suicide, or my son has been on medication for years because of, this or that, or depression and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that's when it solidified. I was like, this is a huge thing. Everyone is affected by it, whether they're the one diagnosed or not. But I was like, but people need permission to talk about it, it's almost like.
Right.
So I was so excited when I found your organization, because your values and your mission and everything about it just aligned so well with what I believe too, and what I really wanted Hello Life to stand for. So I would love for you to share with our audience just a little bit more about how the foundation came to be and what your driving passion is.
Sure. Well, first of all, my driving passion is my friends and family members who deal with mental health challenges. That's probably first and foremost. But again, another passion of mine was when I was in college. I got a degree in theater and dance and had a lot of fun. And then I thought maybe I should have a profession. And somebody said, oh, you'd make a good counselor. And I said, oh, why not? So young me became a therapist. And what I quickly learned is most of what I learned in school, I threw out the window as soon as I got into practice. And I had the people that come to see me teach me. So they were really my teachers. They know what they need. So fast forward, I'm working in mental health. I'm an elected official for a while, and I'm working, as the bureaucrat. And I came upon this book, Anatomy of an Epidemic, by Bob Whitaker. Now, Bob Whitaker is not a doctor or a psychiatrist. He's a medical journalist, a research journalist. And basically what this book did was reflect back what the research says and doesn't say in our field. Well, my husband read the book, and he's in the mental health field too. A lot of people around the world read this book. And so we got in contact with the author, and he put us all in contact. And so out of it became a conversation. People with lived experience, that's what we call people that have mental health challenges, people with lived experience, which is, 90% of us. Psychiatrists, psychologists, public policy workers. And my PhD is in social public policy. My master's degree is in counseling. And I've gotten to meet amazing people all over the world in all sorts of fields, the helping fields, besides the family members and, people with lived experience. And we got together and had a conversation. And out of that, the Foundation for Excellence in Mental Health Care was born, because what we found out is all these people go into the field to help. But what we have now, the major medical model, and I'm not opposed to the major medical model we need it. Some medicines, some diagnostic tools, when you have cancer, you break a leg, or you have diabetes, absolutely crucial, essential. But the field of psychiatry is not quite as easy. There's no blood tests. It's really about a set of symptoms. And so people believe differently. That is really the question. We need to have an open, honest conversation about what the research actually says and what helps people. It's not one size fits all. And so people become their diagnosis when sometimes the diagnosis really don't have a basis. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a medication helps somebody for a while, and sometimes it makes them less well. And so there's a lot of things that we know, and there's a lot of things that we don't know. So the Foundation for Excellence in Mental Health Care was born in 2011. A lot of us got together and did that, basically to match the passion of private philanthropy with the world's top researchers and programs to bring recovery-based care to the world. Now, what does that mean? What that means is most people, when they're diagnosed with a mental illness, I don't even use that term because 99% of it are mental health challenges. They could be attachment, problems, a whole range of things. There's a number of things. Life is complicated. But what happens is they're put on medications first usually, and then maybe prescribed talk therapy or something else once a week. When you unpeel the layers of all this, what the issues are life challenges. Sometimes childhood issues, sometimes school issues, sometimes adjustment issues. We don't know, but every person is different. And so you can't just prescribe a medication. Now, sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't. So that's how we were formed. And out of that, I have had the privilege to sit with people that have said, if it wasn't for this medication and this doctor, I wouldn't be alive today. This has been really helpful. And I've also got to sit with people that have said, it's because of this medication and because of the forced treatment and the lack of care and being treated poorly that made me spin down into a spiral and made things worse. And I've had to recover from the mental health system. Mm. Well, that's disturbing to me. Mm-hmm. And so our values are all about honesty, integrity, and listening first. People who have been there, that have anxiety, have been diagnosed with bipolar, have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and there's really some question on whether that's a real diagnosis or not. It's describing a set of symptoms, whether they're real or not. And what I say is, if those diagnoses are, if the diagnoses are helpful to you, great. If they're not, throw them away. We need to have broader conversations about what helps people. And that's what we're all about. So we mainly work with researchers and programs, which is awesome. Wow. And we work with people who feel that a different model needs to be funded. So the medical model that we're talking about is really funded by Big Pharma to increase the prescriptions given. Mm-hmm. That may work for a few, but we really believe the first line of defense is to really sit down with a person and discover what they need from themselves. And that takes time. And insurance doesn't pay for that. So we really feel like we need to create and recreate. And the reason I say recreate is a long time ago, before medicines were available, and it sounds like I'm knocking medicines. I'm not. They're great for some people, but for a lot of people, they're not. And a long time ago, before there were medicines, there were other ways of talking to people. In other cultures, people who hear voices are revered or taken care of by family, or we live in a completely different society. So the bottom line is we need to share our knowledge, all of our knowledge. And people with lived experience, we have to respect them enough for them to share what's going on with them so we can work at solutions together. That's what we're all about. And that's what we raise dollars for.
I love it. Yeah, with you just even listing out like honesty, integrity, like listening first. I so appreciate all those values, because not only do they seep into Hello Life, but it's just a lot of personal values for myself as well. So I love hearing those kind of things. And it was interesting when you were saying, and I totally get it, and that's one of the reasons why I was really attracted to your organization, is because I love how you're saying, like, yes, there is a place for medical, and there is a place for looking in other areas for some help too. And that's really what I loved about it, because as a cosmetic line, our whole thing is like, yeah, like let's bring some good products to our face to help us feel beautiful and confident, versus, using something, because our life is a lot different than it was, 50 years ago, for example, and the products that we use and the things that surround us. So I love how you're saying, like, let's just have an open conversation about it. And so it kind of made me think of, like, I had mentioned that when I first brought it up, it was a really big realization that other people needed kind of permission to talk about things that were going on in their families. And I think it's because we don't want to look like an outsider, right? Like there's this huge stigma around it. So how are you seeing that conversation just in society, hopefully changing in the next couple of years?
Well, it's interesting. There's some people that are really, really stuck in archaic models of care or lack of care or models of harm. And then there are people that are out, looking at alternatives. And I think it's very funny, the word alternatives, because when we talk about alternatives, some of the things that I don't consider alternatives are things that we have used for ages, and talking with people, at taking a look at family of origin issues. And it's not to blame the families, talking, being open about it. It's learned, behavior, and talking about it, the whole mental health field, and what our mental health, we're all human, right? So we have a spiritual side, we have a physical side, and we have a mental and emotional side. And so we all need to be taking that into consideration when we talk to others. And so at any given time, we can say that we're mentally healthy. But if you have enough stressors that happen in your life, a loved one dies, you get sick, a pet dies, there's a number of things. The economy dries up. Anyone can have mental health challenges at any time. So just because you don't have them now doesn't mean that you're safe from not getting a mental health challenge. It's not a disease. Well, let me back up. So some people will say that, yes, mental illness is a disease. And I think that's probably true, but for a very, very small portion of society. Most of the things being labeled mental illnesses are not mental illnesses at all. They're mental health challenges due to society, due to our, the moral fabric decay, how we live our lives. People are living separate from their families. They don't have the support. I can go on and on and on. There's a whole list. And so it makes sense for us to build community and have conversations and support each other and get research behind what really works. And again, I have the privilege to talk to so many people, and there's a lot of people who have been labeled with the diagnosis of schizophrenia or bipolar, have been given medication, have been hospitalized, and told they will never work, they will never have a normal life, they will never get better. That in of itself is pretty devastating. I have seen some of those people get their hope back, hold down jobs, be able to pay their mortgages or their rent, and become who they want to be. And they didn't think that they could do that. So there's a shift that we need to do, and we need to bring all this together to give people choices informed consent. That's really what we're all about. We want to give people information so they can make the right choices of their care when they're presented all the options.
I love that. So that's just so inspiring to hear that you've seen people who have been told, I'm never going to work again. I'm not going to have a normal life because I have this disease or this challenge, that people are putting this huge label on me. So when they got their hope back, was that with working with your foundation and being able to see all those different options?
Yeah, not necessarily working with our foundation, but working with people who we help fund and working with others that give hope. It's not all about us. We created the foundation because the foundation is us, we, the broader, people. Mm-hmm. The foundation isn't me and our board of directors and our volunteers. The foundation is the whole world, because we all need good mental health. So how we created ourselves, if you know community foundations, they're usually small geographically. And so in a state or a region or a city, people give to that foundation to do a number of things. Build libraries, clean water systems, or support education, whatever they want to do. We took that model and kind of turned it on its head. Our geographical location is the world because everyone needs good mental health. But our sole purpose is to improve mental health outcomes. And so, we fund non-biased research. We want research paid for where there's not already an answer thought up because the company that stands to gain has a product that they're trying to sell by what the research says. That's not what we do. What we're trying to sell is truth, what research actually says and what we find programs actually work for people. And so it's going to be an ongoing conversation. We've had some really wonderful successes, ongoing successes. We've been able to fund studies in micronutrients. There's a whole burgeoning field on nutrition and mental health. Yes. We've been able to fund research on treatment modalities, I'll call them, that are more supportive and give people choice and talk with their whole support system about how to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you, if you could pick, you guys have been around for 7 years, and so that's amazing. And if you had to pick your top 2 successes that you've had in your time, could you narrow it down to 2?
Well, there's lots of successes we've had, so that's kind of hard. 2 of our big successes, of course, is getting open dialogue better known, and in fact, we've got some surprises coming up, and we're going to go light years ahead in the next 3 years with that, which is really awesome. The Hearing Voices Network is probably one of my favorites. For the first couple of years, we were funded from donors from the UK because the Hearing Voices Network works so well in the UK, and they wanted to see it for their United States sisters and brethren. And so we were funded, and finally it caught on here, and American funders funded it, here, and we've had trainings. I've been trained, even though I'm not a voice hearer. I do support and know people who hear voices, and it has completely rocked and changed my world. And what I had been taught in school 30 years ago, it's completely changed it. Yeah. And so are those 2 of our bigger successes? I would say yes, but then some of the other successes that we've had, the researchers that I've worked with would probably say those were it. So lots of great things. We are worldwide. Of course, most of our work is done in the United States. We're here, but that is really expanding to many other countries as well. So pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure that you could have pages and pages of successes you guys have had. So that's
Yes.
awesome. Absolutely love that. Now, one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and, you know, again, I appreciate that you guys spend so much money on research and, you know, unbiased research, because there, again, is a lot of statistics out there and a lot of, you know, just conversations happening or not happening because of stigma going on. But I know that you guys have some startling facts as well on your website. Like, could you just share with our audience a few of those stats that you're really trying to change?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the statistics that is kind of the most frightening to me is that people that get involved in the public mental health system, I mean, there are many sources for this data. So it's not just one source, it's many cross sources of data. People that get involved with the mental health system, public mental health system, usually die 25 years earlier. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to have conversations about why that is. And if you're treated for a serious mental illness and you can expect to die 25 years earlier, why is that? We need to be more curious.
Mm-hmm.
Not only what are the issues, but what are the answers?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a driving force too. And there is research, you know, from the United States, from Holland, that supports that. The other thing that's curious to me, and you know, it's a causation question. It's probably, you know, cause and effect isn't, but it's a curious question. Is between 1987 and 2007, those receiving Social Security payments because they're considered disabled because of psychiatric disorder or a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
In those 20 years, it increased 200%. Now, why is that? Again, we don't have all the answers to that, but if the new neuroleptics and psychiatric drugs that were available then, and they've just increased exponentially, are being prescribed medications more than ever. And so you would think that the new class of psychotropic medications would have lowered disability rates. Mm-hmm. So the question is why haven't they? And of course, there's answers on both sides, but they're dueling. And it's not my job to say you're wrong or you're right. It's we need more research. Why is this happening? These are great questions that we need to be curious about, and we need to not be supporting one industry over the other. What we need to do is be supporting people that are having mental health challenges, get to the answers that they need for them, and not be labeled broken, sick, not able to recover. Let's label them, hey, you're people, and we need to help get you the answers as partners. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of the curiosity and the questions. And so for people, you know, just trying to be a little bit more vocal about this, because sometimes it's hard. Do you have suggestions to people who maybe have family members, or maybe they're dealing with themselves, like how to start this conversation with friends and families and the community around them?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, usually when there's mental health challenges in a family, things get a little prickly and, you know, people get tired and it's hard. And I think the best thing to do is say, hey, I want to start a conversation with you because I love you and this is difficult. But, you know, I just recently found out about the Foundation for Excellence in Mental Health Care, and I want to figure out how we have a conversation about mental health, yours and mine. I mean, it goes both ways, right? And help expose them to other points of view. Mm-hmm. We have phenomenal resources. Risk.org is one of our funds, and you can go on risk.org, that's rxisk.org, and you can start taking a look at what problems other people have had with their medications or not. If somebody is questioning their medications. Some people hold on to their medications, and that's not, the problem. It's the idea of a diagnosis, or they haven't met other people like them, whatever that means, And so through our Facebook page, there's a chance to just commune with a lot of people, and we can get people connected, all over. So what we are becoming is a group of people that have these conversations. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I love getting big checks for research, don't get me wrong. But the ones that really mean the most to me is somebody that has been disabled for a long time, their words, not mine, and have found hope and are starting to put together a plan for themselves and have found the foundation useful, and they want to give back, but because of their budgets, all they can give is a $5 check. That almost makes me cry, because that is what we're all about. We need the big donors to fund researchers, but we need the small donors to fund the heart.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And it all goes together to figure out this puzzle that we the people have to figure out. We, the people of the world, have to figure out. And so we need researchers from all over the world studying, all the different things that can help, and figuring out what programs to fund, And some people think that that's really easy, and some people think that it's hard. What I've seen that works the most for programs is the ones that ask people what they need and provide opportunities for community, healthy community.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I got emotional when you were getting emotional about that. I love that quote, we need people to fund the heart of something. And I think that is just mind blowing. My favorite quote, I think, so far from this.
Yeah, good.
Because to be honest, yes, I wanted, when starting the makeup line, it was about, hey, I know that I feel a lot better and more confident about myself when I have some mascara on, and I want other women to be okay with that, and I wanted to bring a natural solution to their morning routine that was simple and easy. But on the other hand, I'm I never wanted to be I'm not a makeup artist. I tell people that all the time. They're like, can you come do my makeup? I was no, I can't. I'm not a makeup artist.
Well, you look fantastic. You should be.
You're very sweet. I think it's good lighting. But the passion behind the company is really, being able to be a part of your mission and being able to send those donation checks. And it means so much to me. And then getting handwritten cards from you in return for it, it means so much. And so I love that quote, just again, that you really need those funders of the heart. And I just think that's amazing.
I really appreciate that. And here is the beauty of it. So we're a community foundation. That means we all fund it. And in order to stay a community foundation, we get these big donors in, and that's really great. But in order to stay a community foundation, we have to get the small donors in. So it's even. And so we really value those that can donate, $5, $50, $25, $100, whatever people can give. A small donation, this is funny. A small donation by the IRS is anything under $5,000. So to me, a $4,999 thousand donation, that's a pretty big donation in my book. But anything under $5,000 is considered small. So we need a lot of small donors as well, so we can keep our community foundation status. So the smaller donors are just as important as the big donors.
I love that. I love that. Now, you had mentioned before that in the next 3 years, you guys are going to go light years, and you have a lot of stuff planned. Are there any things that you can give us, any more hints around that where you guys are going?
Well, I will just say that there are a number of donors, and one big one well, several big ones actually, but from other countries that want to join with us to make sure that things like open dialogue, hearing voices, research specifically for people with lived experience trying to titrate off their medication, that will be funded to a bigger and bolder amount than previously funded. So we'll be able to really make some headway on getting that spread. So a number of people will have the opportunity to choose that if they wish.
That's awesome. I'm so excited, and I'm just so honored that we get to be a part of this mission in any way possible. So it's been just so fun, and I do have people kind of like, well, why did you choose that foundation? And to be completely honest, I mean, whoever's doing your stuff is good, because I Googled. And I found you guys because I had reached out to a local organization here, and I didn't get a response back, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to put this off any longer. I'm going to research companies. You guys were one of the first ones that I found when I Googled healthcare associations and foundations, and then I had a conversation with a team member, and it was amazing. And all the, so I was like, oh, it just worked out perfectly, again, to find you guys and to be a part of it. And I love that you're community based and you're a smaller organization at this point, but I know you guys are going to get a lot bigger than that.
We want to keep the small feel. We don't want to become, corporate. We want to be able to respond to people because again, the heart of the mission is to have conversations with people about what works and what doesn't. Yeah. And we're not always successful, but for the most part, our volunteers and the people that work with the foundation, we love the researchers that we work with. The bottom line is that we all want good mental health. And a group of us that have expertise in reaching out to people with lived experience and also research expertise figured out a plan how to do this. And everybody can be a part of it. And that's what's exciting, is giving people options for their mental health. And true informed consent, that's what's important, that people have all the information that they need before they make a choice about their mental health care. Mm-hmm. That's what's important to us.
I love it. I love it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time, Gina, to sit down and just have this conversation with me so that we can get it out there to more people. As I mentioned, we obviously give back a portion. We give $1 of every product purchase to your organization. But if people would like to learn more about your organization or donate a small or big, according to the IRS, where would be the best place for them to head to?
The best place for them to head to is femhc.org or mentalhealthexcellence.org. And that's easier to remember, mentalhealthexcellence.org on the web, and push the donate button. And I want to thank Hello Life so much for your partnership. This is what it's all about. And I love that you love us and we love you.
Just a whole lot of love going on here.
Yes.
So from this conversation, and for those viewers who are watching it, what would be, in a nutshell, your biggest takeaway for them to leave with?
You matter. You matter.
Love it.
That's really the biggest takeaway. You matter in mental health care, and you can be a part of it for yourself, for your family, for the whole world. And we're going to do this together.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much, Gina. I so appreciate your time. And to everyone listening, I encourage you to go and check out their foundation, start the conversation in your own community, and then check back for more updates as our partnership continues.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.